Hi guys, it's Sherry. Today we are going to be working with our stones. So I have this particular, it's like a fossil, it's coral fossil, and it reminded me of a turtle shell. So that's what we are going to do. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to kind of decide what size to make my pendant. And I don't want my pendant being too big, but I also need it large enough to complete my turtle. So I'm going to use this one. I have my clay rolled out to my number, let's see, my number 5 on my pasta machine. That's right around the middle section of my pasta machine. And I'm just using scrap clay. You don't need anything special for this because we are going to paint our clay. And let me get my tile. I want to work right on my tile. This way I can move my piece around and know that it's not going to go anywhere. So let me get that. And then I'll put my stone right on there. And we're going to kind of build up from this point on, all right? So decide where you want it. And I want it kind of right in the middle. I'm just going to lay it down, and then I'm going to take some of my scrap and I'm just going to build up very little bit right around the sides because I want to make sure that my stone is going to be securely on there, so you have to build up around it. So I'm just going to take my scrap here and just go right around, and don't worry about it being like clean, so to speak. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're just going to kind of work with what we got going on. So let's just kind of build right around it, and you can see I'm taking my finger and I'm pushing down because I want that stone to show as much as possible. But I also need that clay to be securely on there, so this way my stone does not fall out, because we're not putting glue on here. So now I'm just going to smooth everything out, and it's going to kind of dome down like that, all right? So now I'm just going to press down and make sure that clay is right up against my stone as well. All right, now I'm going to take my cutter one more time, and then I'm going to clean it up. And let's take off all the extra. Now I'm just going to take my silicone tool and I'm going to kind of just smooth out my edges. Alrighty. And then let's get our noodle, and we are going to make a really thin noodle to go around our stone. And this is all you got to do to make a noodle. Just roll your clay or your hand back and forth. And as you move it over, your clay will grow. And it's going to get skinnier and longer. I'm going to cut it on an angle. And then I'm just going to follow right around. And I cut it right at your piece to connect. Get your tool and then smooth those pieces together. Let them become one piece of clay. And I'm just going to push this down and smooth everything out. Give it a nice clean look. And by doing this, you're kind of helping secure this piece of clay onto the other piece of clay. And we want it to kind of be not overly smooth. You see how I'm kind of making those little ridge marks in it with my silicone tool here? That's because I want it to kind of give it that ridgy look to match the stone, to give it like that turtle shell look. And to do that, all I'm doing is pushing in and rolling my tool. That's all I'm doing. And it's giving me that nice little look. Okay. I'm just going to smooth out the very bottom. And this is probably what's going to take you the longest right here. Is just making sure your stuff is nice and smooth and your pieces are becoming one piece. You want your clay to connect nicely. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Next, we are going to make the turtle's fins or arms. I'm not sure what they're really called, to be quite honest. If you know, let me know, because I'm really unsure on what they are. So I'm going to get 2 circles that are the same size, so I know that the fins are going to be the same. Maybe they're feet? I don't know. Now I'm going to have to look that up, because now I'm very curious on what they are actually called. All right, so that's both the same right there. And now we're going to need 2 smaller ones for the back legs. Okay, and then we need one for the turtle's head. And the little tail. Okay, so you can see I have all different sizes. So the turtle's head's going to be bigger, and then the front legs, the back legs, and then the tail. So we'll start out with the head, and I'm actually going to use this side because it's a little bit more room than back here. So to do the head, I am going to, here, I'm going to show you. Let me start out. So I squeeze. So you see how it's getting like pointy there? And then I start bringing this. And then push down. And there's probably easier ways of doing this, but this is the only way that I know how to do it. So now here would be the eye area and the nose and mouth. And we could get our little ball tool and kind of mark where the eyes will be to give you a little bit better idea. And I'm going to take, I want to put it on a turn, like angle, so this way I can fit it all. Let me see here. And actually, we're not going to add a neck, because if we add a neck, it's going to be too much. So we're just going to add the head. So just cut that right down. Then you end up with a little section like this. And don't worry about putting all the details in yet. We will do that. I'm going to take my ball tool. Let me match up where it's going to go. And then I am actually going to push this down. And this is going to give me my area that my turtle head is going to lay right in there. And the reason I'm doing this is so that way the head is not sticking out too far. It kind of gives me a little area that it snuggles into. And then I am going to push that down and blend those pieces together. Now I'm just going to start taking the bottom of his head and push down to connect those pieces. Because once you know those pieces are connected, you don't have to worry about it falling apart. Okay. Fix that. And we'll decorate and kind of, not decorate, but we'll put all the detail in a little bit. So now for the fin or leg, you're making like a teardrop, and then you're gonna kind of just turn it like that. So very, very simple. And I actually think I want to go a little smaller. I almost feel like that's gonna be too big. So when you're making these pieces, you gotta kind of just really adjust it as you go. I'm going to take off some of that and do the same thing. And I like to lay them up right next to each other to see if they're the same size. And then warp it around. And then we're going to do the little feet. These ones, we're just going to go straight into a teardrop. And I'm actually going to make that a little smaller as well. And this is just like a fun little, you know, craft. It's not supposed to be 100% realistic or anything like that. This is just a fun little, you know, put me together type of thing. And then of course the tail. I'm going to put the tail into a little cylinder. Alrighty. Now it's time to start blending some things together here. So I want to make sure I'm putting the tail on and it's blended in there. We're kind of just blended it into the other clay. It's not difficult. You just rub it, guys, and it'll blend it all together for you. If you don't have a silicone tool, you can use a ball tool. Sometimes that is actually a little bit easier. You could kind of pull it down like that and then smooth it out afterwards. So whatever, you know, you have laying around, you know, you could use that. You don't have to use exactly what I have here. So I'll just show you on this one. I'll do this whole leg here. So I'm just going to take this and pull these little sides down. You can see it gets like a little rough, but that's okay. And then we could just smooth it with our ball tool very carefully. And we're going to make marks into the turtle anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But do you see how that all becomes one? Well, now you know that that leg is never going to fall off because it's becoming one with your piece. And then you can see the tail is sticking up there, but it's securely on there, so you should be pretty good with it. And how about we put it on a little, how about we turn it a little bit, because I think that'll look nice. Okay, so my next step is I want to make bubbles and little swirls and things like that for my piece. So we're going to make some noodles. And I want my noodles to be really skinny. And I can see right here, I want to kind of attach the head just a little bit more here. All right, and before I do this, what I'm going to do, because this is kind of like a little messy, I'm actually going to take my ball tool and I'm going to put like little lines in here and make it look like water, okay? And then this will hide any like any blended that did not blend really nice. This will hide it because it'll look like just extra detail in your piece, and it looks like it was just purposely put there, so you don't have to have things perfect. And I love doing that sometimes, because with all the little legs and feet and fins or whatever, it's going to be hard to keep everything smooth. Get that in there. So now you can see how I did like those little lines to make it look like water in there. So that's what I did. So that'll hide any smoothing that didn't come out nice. We'll clean up the edge in here at the end. And now I want to just do a couple little tiny swirls. So I'm just going to take my noodle. And just watch closely to see how I am doing these little swirls. You're going to want to use your fingers. And then we could cut it right off there. And we'll do one here. I don't need a lot of swirls because I'm going to put little dots on here for like bubbles. It's going to look really cool. I'm trying to make sure I keep my hands out of the way so you guys can see everything. And then we'll do one right here. And this is another reason I love having my tile, because I could just move the tile if it's harder for me to move my hand. There we go. So there will be just my 3 little swirls. And then we're going to make a bunch of little balls here. And I want them to be small too. So we're going to do different sizes. But some are going to be really tiny, some will be a little bit bigger, but all in all, they're going to be pretty small. Okay, so just take your clay put it into a little ball, and then set it down. And we are going to actually push these in with our ball tool because we're going to put paint inside of these to make them look more like bubbles. So it's going to be really cool. All right, now this will probably be the easiest way, just picking them up with my tool, maybe. There we go. And let's get one here. And that's what we have so far. So now we're gonna do the eyes. And I'm not doing anything crazy with the eyes. I'm just gonna put a little circle there. And I'm gonna kind of open it up a little bit so I could put a little ball in that. Make sure it's right next to each other. So you see how I'm just kind of wiggling it to open it up a bit? And then you can see it's, there we go. Just make sure that you're not jutting the head too much. Okay, so now I'm going to get 2 balls. And stick those in there. Okay. And then we're going to do the nose. 2 dots. And the mouth, we're just going to use our X-Acto knife. Okay. For the fins, I'm just going to add a little bit of striping at the bottom just to give it some detail. So I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and do that. At this point, I'm just going to make sure that my holes are pretty deep, my little dots, because I want to make sure that I get paint in there nicely. Okay. And that's what we have so far. So it looks pretty good. Now at this point, I need to clean up all my edging. So I'm going to take my tool here and I'm just going to clean it all up. And I need to decide, do I want to try to put another little wrap around here? Do I want to leave it the way it is? And I almost feel like I should do a clean wrap around since I kind of messed up the other one. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a nice clean, what do you call it? A nice clean noodle right around. What I'm doing is just kind of, I'm going like this to the very top of it to give it a little texture. So it kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. Not like it's out of place. It'll still give me that smooth, clean look, but it has like a nice texture on it. So it all looks like it's supposed to be there. At this point, I'm just making sure the stone area is nice and clean. Everything's where it's supposed to be. All right. So that's what we have. Now, I am going to take this off my tile. And this is one of the reasons why I love these little clay mats, is because now I could take this off and I can smooth my edges. And I can make it exactly how smooth or rough, or do whatever I want with my edges without messing anything else up. Put my little handprints there. Here I can sand that up after it's baked. That little mark there. But everything's nice and smooth. Now, do I want to hang it like this? Do I want to hang it like that? Do I want to do it on the bottom? How do I want to hang it is my next question. I have a little mark there, so I'm going to fix that. I'm actually going to put another little bubble underneath his chin. This is the time that you really just want to look over your piece and see if you're missing anything, if you want to add anything. I just want to add a couple tiny ones by his head so it doesn't look like, oh, why is there nothing there? Okay. There we go. All right, so we are going to put the bail on, and I think I have an idea of how exactly I want to do that. So first I'm going to roll this out. Okay, let me cut that out. I just want to make sure this is going to be wide enough, because I may need something a little bit wider to make it look okay. I think that should be good. Let me see what a wider one would look like. I actually like the wider one. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. But I know I won't need one that large. So I want to put this on, make sure it's in the middle, because you want to make sure that it's going to lay correctly on your piece. You know, this is honestly the easiest way to do it, and I know it's going to sound funny, but lay your piece down and then put this on top. And you can eye it up much easier. Now you know your piece is going to be in the right spot. I'm going to bring you up a bit. And then I am just going to take my tool, and I want to kind of push this down a little bit. This way it's not so boxy looking. And then cut about that much off. Let me get my stick. I'm going to use my metal tool here. I need to get a smaller one of these. And then I like to push that down as well. And carefully set that down. And I know that's going to get stuck in there. Get a little bit of saran wrap. And I have my little turtle cutter. we are going to put our little turtle right across here and make it look pretty. All right, so I'm going to put a little dot here, dot here. Let's decorate our little guy a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to place this in my oven, 275, and I'm going to honestly, it's not even that big or thick, so I'm going to do about 45 minutes only, and then we'll come back and paint him up. My piece is out of the oven, and I think it looks wonderful. So now to finish it off, we want to paint it, and this is going to be a really simple process. Basically, we just want to make it look like faux silver. So I love this shine and silver paint here. It's all like metallics. It dries super quick. It's one of my favorite paints. And then we are going to also use like a turquoise for the bubbles. So very simply, just start painting over it. And don't worry about if you get paint on your stone, because that could all be wiped away. But you want to make sure you're getting into all your little crevices to make sure that you are covering everything up, because you don't want this little like green blue color, you know, popping through and everything else being silver. And don't worry about if you miss some of the bubbles like inside, because we're going to be doing the turquoise inside the bubbles. I'm going to hang that to dry. And then once it's completely dry, I will do a second coat. And then we will go from there to shading it to putting our turquoise on. All right, so to do my shading, the next thing I'm going to use is called dark tone. And basically, you just use it like you would paint. And I like to get a small, like skinnier brush. And then I'm just going to kind of go in different areas and just shade those areas, okay? So you don't have to go over the whole thing if you don't want to. Just shade the areas that you really want. And I kind of do like a darker area here, like in the corners, and then on the top I'll just kind of do like a light brush. This way I'm getting more shade in where I naturally should. And I love this stuff because you don't have to wipe it off like you would with paint. It kind of just melts into it, I guess, is the way I want to put it. And this will kind of give it a nice antique look. You see how I'm going right where those areas are? I'm going to leave it dark there, and then I'll just go over this area lightly. So anywhere where I want it more darker, yeah, I guess that's anywhere I want it more dark, I'll just kind of leave a little puddle there, I guess, is how I would describe it. And then here, I'm just going to go over very lightly. And the reason I choose to do it this way is I normally would shade with black paint and then wipe it off. But with this, it gives me more of a natural antique look. And it's just something that I really prefer. So if you have black paint and you don't have this, just take your black paint and wipe it on or brush it on, and then just wipe it off. So you'll see that I'm just going over like the nose area and sticking that right into the nose. And then I'll go around the head. This stuff, to me, this stuff is just amazing. I love this stuff. It just makes it so much easier for me. But you do yours the way that you want to do or what you have laying around your house. And I'm just going to go right around here. You see, it just gives it a more natural antique look. And I don't have to wipe anything off. And that's what I love about this stuff. And I can even use my finger. If I just want to kind of blot, just use my finger. That's it. Now, I am going to do a very light brush over the rest of the piece, but I'm not going to go crazy with it, okay? So here, I'm going to go a little darker because I want all those little dots that I put on my little turtle to really be popped out. And then I'll do a little shading around the edges. And then just lightly brush the rest. So, and then I can just use my finger if I want. And just kind of rub it. So if I want my little handprints to show up more, that I stamped into there, because that's my own little, that's what I use to let people know that it's my piece. So I just go right over it a little bit, take my fingers, kind of just rub back and forth, and now I'll have that show up. But look how much easier that is than using paint. Like, watch, boop, that's it. So much easier and beautiful. It really does a beautiful job. All right, so now I'm going to let this completely dry. And when it's dry, we're going to do our turquoise. But before I do that, I want to just show you. If you get too much on, just take your brush, put it in water, and then boom, you're done. That's it. All right, so I'm going to let this dry for about 5 minutes because it does not take too long. And then we'll start putting our little turquoise in. All right, so next I have my turquoise. And hopefully it will not be watery. No, good. And for this particular one, I'm just going to get a small paintbrush. And this is going to be really easy. Let me mix that up a bit. And then I'll put little drops. You see how I got it like thick on the end there? And then what I do is I just drop it right into those little holes that I did, the little bubbles. And then as the paint dries, it'll seep into it. And the way that we're doing this, those little dots are going to look like enamel. So you'll end up with a faux metal look and a faux enamel look. And it's going to look stunning together. Now I'm just checking to make sure I didn't forget anything, because sometimes you'll miss one or two. I think that looks beautiful. Look at that. How cool is that? So next, I'm going to let this completely dry for about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to clean up the stone. We'll glaze it. And then we are done. My piece is dried. Look how beautiful this looks. Is that not fantastic? I absolutely love this. I think this came out great. So the last step, well, there's actually 2 steps, is I want to clean up my stone, and then I want to put my Sculpting glaze on. So to clean up the stone, I like to just take my little tool here, and then I just carefully go right across my stone and take off some of that paint. And the main thing I'm focusing on is right on the edge in here, okay? I want to get that paint away. This way I could get my towel there and just wipe everything clean, because you're not going to get your towel up on that edge. It's just not going to go in there. And I have not had any of my stones get scratched with this tool, but I also don't push very hard on it. I'm just scraping my paint right off. And you can see it just comes right off. Then I just take my towel and then I just clean my stone. You see I have a little paint right there. And there, our stone is nice and clean. So lastly, I'm going to use my satin glaze. Oops. All my paintbrushes are falling apart. There we go. So I'm going to use a bigger brush here, and I'm going to start on the back. And I will hang this to completely dry. You don't have to put it on thick. The Sculpting glaze works beautiful with just a thin layer. And then with the glaze, all your blue turquoise is going to get real shiny and it's going to look like that enamel. And then basically, once you get it onto your thing to hang it, then you can get the little edges where your fingers were and do a complete check of your piece. Make sure there's no globs. Just look over, make sure you didn't forget any areas. I'm just basically going over at this point to make sure I'm picking up any little globs that I might have. And now I will let this sit to dry. And here it is. Look how gorgeous this is. I'm super happy with this. I still have a little wet area here and like a tiny bit in the fin areas, but I'm okay with that. I'm gonna let it completely dry. But you can see all the little bubbles are nice and shiny. They look like enamel. The shading came out beautifully. I'm very pleased with this. It's finished off real nice in the back. The sides are nice and smooth. I really hope that you guys enjoy creating this piece with me. If you did, please remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, make a comment because that really helps push out my videos, and I will see you all next time. Bye!